30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on a beautiful Tuesday. We are broadcasting from the Boone Business Center on the campus at Trevecca University to that area over there. I guess that would be my right and y'all's left on your TV dial. They're having a big press conference to formally announce that Trevecca is joining the Gulf South Conference. To say that it's been old home week over the last 45 minutes would be an understatement. Later in the show, we'll talk with an old classmate of mine, former Vanderbilt basketball player and now Trevecca athletic director Mark Elliot, Dale Clayton, who was on the staff of Coach C.M. Newton in the 80s, walked in here a few minutes ago, and he and I and Ron Bargatze held court in what was absolutely some priceless info. So to say I've had some fun would be an understatement. Terry McCormick is going to join us in just a moment. I'll tell all of you on the front end that Kelly Holcomb will not be with us today, and I want you to keep their family in your thoughts, and I want to make sure that I say this correctly. His daughter has suffered a pretty significant sports injury, and it looks like there's some sort of a dislocation. Whether I'm supposed to say that or not, I don't know. But Kelly obviously has a lot more important things going on today. Hopefully he'll join us tomorrow. Who knows? Anyway, let's get the show started as we do all the time, even when I'm not wearing a nice sport coat, Billy, that I have paid for, since you seem to think that nothing.
I'll need some proof of that.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Good luck getting it. Let's start with our daily Titans update with Terry McCormick from Main Street Media. The update brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. She wants to be your mortgage lady, and through the folks at USA Mortgage, that is absolutely possible. So dial Lori up at 615-969-4350. Let's say hello to Terry McCormick. Looks like he's lounging. Wow. Very nice.
Wow. Thanks, George.
Are you working hard?
I am working hard. I took a break to come and talk to you.
Okay. Well, tell me what is on your mind.
Okay. George, sometimes, as they say, stats don't tell the whole truth, but I'm going to give you a couple of stats today that do tell the truth about what the Titans are going through. I think we all know that Andre Dillard has not performed up to his contract thus far in 3 games as a Titan. He's allowed 6 sacks already, according to stats put out there by Pro Football Focus, which are usually somewhat informative, not always the be-all, end-all, because they don't know what goes on in terms of assignments and blocking, who's supposed to block who, but still pretty indicative of the types of problems the Titans have been having over there. Then on the defensive side of the ball, and this is Pro Football Focus again, Christian Fulton has allowed 165 yards passing against him this year on 7 of 8 completions. That computes out to a passer rating against of 158.3, which, George, that is the perfect number for quarterback passer rating. So certainly not a good trend for Christian Fulton, who came into this season, 1, needing to stay healthy. He's played in 2 of 3 games. And 2, needing to show the Titans that he could be the type of guy worthy of a contract extension and being a shutdown corner. And that's not happened either. So he needs to pick it up if he wants to play his way back into their plans long term.
Terry, just give me your gut feeling. Both of these stats are a disaster. Okay. We all know that. Is there a solution in either one of these? Can either make a turnaround?
It's a good question. I think it's probably easier for Fulton to make a turnaround than Dillard, simply because of the position that he plays. When you're a cornerback, some of what your result is kind of based on how good the pressure is on the quarterback.
Sure.
If the front four is getting home and they're forcing hurried passes and there are tip passes and things like that, that can certainly make a defensive back's life a lot easier. If they're not getting home and quarterbacks are stepping up in the pocket or rolling out and, finding receivers on those unscheduled plays down the field, then that can make a defensive back's life miserable. I don't think Christian Fulton is as bad as what those numbers indicate, but I do think he has to play better. And I do think that it's a little bit of a product of the Titans and the pass rush not being able to help him out maybe as much as they had hoped. They do have options there. If they want to go to the bench, they could always put in Trey Avery, who handled himself pretty well. He gave up some completions against the Chargers. They targeted him quite a bit, but didn't really give up maybe but one big play or two in the game, and seemed to tackle the man pretty quickly after he caught the ball against him, most of the time working against either Mike Williams or Keenan Allen. On the offensive side, I still think that they've got to be able to give help to Andre Dillard. Much like they had to do with Dennis Daly last year. This is a guy that's going to need a tight end over there or a running back over there or something like that. And then when Peter Skoronski gets back, I think they have to consider either him or eventually Nicholas Petit-Ferrer possibly in that left tackle spot if Dillard doesn't pick it up immediately.
Am I right? They're paying Dillard some serious bucks.
They're paying him $29 million over 3 years. I do believe there's an out in the contract after this year, and certainly things are trending toward that happening, I would say. But still, the signing bonus money and what you're paying him this year, you're certainly not getting a lot of return on investment, even if you can cut bait after this year and kind of cut your losses.
Isn't this, I mean, Terry, when you talk about this one in particular, I mean, this sounds like a scouting screw up where they get in a room and say, okay, we're targeting certain people. We're targeting this guy. Yep, let's go after him. And in the target, at least early returns, this is a major screw up.
Yeah. I mean, it's looking like that it was a mistake. But then the other part of that too, George, is this offensive line was in shambles and needed 2 or 3 replacements. And you can't fix all the holes in one offseason and do it well, most likely, because one, the best offensive linemen, just like other positions, the best left tackles and things like that, don't get to the free agent market. They stay with the teams that drafted them for as long as they want them. The Titans never allowed Taylor Lewan to get to the free agent market in the prime of his career, nor did they allow Michael Roos, nor did they allow Brad Hopkins. So an offensive line is one of those positions, maybe more than any other on the field, where it almost has to be fixed through the draft, because those guys work together, they eat together, they do everything together. And yes, you can plug in a free agent maybe at one spot or even 2 spots. But when you start talking about an overhaul with 4 new starters and the 5th guy changing positions, that's a lot to ask in one offseason, a lot to ask from one group. And you're also doing it with guys who were bench players and guys that the teams that had them previously didn't really want. So you're talking about second level, second tier guys.
Yeah.
So really the way to build an offensive line is through the draft. You draft tackles early, you draft centers and guards in the, starting with the 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounds. And you hope also to hit on maybe a late round pick or 2 that you can develop into a decent player. So it may be a more than 1 year. Well, I'm just going to say it is a more than 1 year process to try and fix this offensive line the right way.
Terry, here is, in my mind, the big issue. Ryan Tannehill is getting beat all to you-know-what. And if this continues, he's not going to be able to play the full season. It's going to end up like last year.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, it's kind of a testament to him that he's been able to take as many hits as he has over the last 2 or 3 years.
He's one tough sucker.
It would be trending in that direction again if this doesn't change and things don't pick up. And then, if that happens, then you're looking probably, George, at no matter what this team is, you're looking at probably having to turn the page and go with either Malik Willis or Will Levis, depending on how long the injury to Tannehill would be. And, if it's an extended amount of time that he was going to miss, you might as well start the rebuild.
Yeah. Listen, I think we can end it there. You may have had some other notes, but that was plenty enough right there. Terry, great report as always. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, George. Have a good day.
Terry McCormick's Daily Titans Update, brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. She wants to be your mortgage lady, and through the folks at USA Mortgage, that absolutely can happen. At 615-969-4350. Billy, I don't know why you're giving me that goofy look. I pay for these coats. Not a freebie.
What do you mean, goofy look?
Well, you basically said on the air that you thought it was a freebie.
Well, I still need proof of that.
Well, you're not going to get it. What's going on?
Well, George, we got some interesting news around the NFL.
I bet we do.
Raiders defensive end Chandler Jones wrote in a social media post last night that he was taken to a hospital against his will by the Las Vegas Fire Department and later transferred to a behavioral health facility last week. He was placed on the non-football illness list last week with what the team has described as a personal matter. He's been away from the team since Labor Day, when he began a series of social media posts aimed at the Raiders, their owner, their GM, head coach Josh McDaniels. It's kind of a weird and scary.
It's a weird, scary story.
And scary story. Apparently he's out of this treatment facility, and he's, I don't know if he's going to play again. I think he's 33 years old. But yeah, just sad.
It's a weird story.
And I saw it, and of course, that's all you can really get to right now. Thinking about him, and hopefully he gets his career back together.
I think it's more get his life back together.
Yeah, you're not even thinking about football anymore. Yeah. Well, George, a more positive story. The Taylor Swift effect has overtaken the NFL world. According to Fanatics, Travis Kelce's jersey was one of the top 5 for the NFL on Sunday. He saw nearly a 400% spike in sales throughout the Fanatics sites, including NFLshop.com. Sales spiked on the same day that Taylor Swift was spotted with Kelce's mom in the suite.
Is he offering like tickets to a concert?
I don't know, but it has overtaken. I wanted to get to it yesterday, but it's kind of crazy the pull she has. This isn't even really an NFL story anymore.
International.
You got her fans, buying his jersey. They've got shirts being sold. It's pretty crazy. Also, Hall of Famer Joe Namath blasted.
Ooh, I know all about this.
He blasted quarterback for the Jets, Zach Wilson, on the Michael Kay show up in New York. When he was asked about Wilson's performance against the Jets, he said, "I didn't take anything positive out of it. It was awful." Namath was annoyed by Wilson's first sack on Sunday when he went down without being touched. He said, "You sit down? You sit down on a play? You go right down? What happened? I thought you're trying to win and make plays." So he said he's seen enough of Zach Wilson.
Namath is a JETS icon. Mm-hmm. And so he's earned the right to say whatever it is he wants to say. And to be real honest, Coach Saleh and Hugh Douglas, the GM, just sort of have to take it. Now,
yeah, he said those guys aren't picking the right players. They aren't doing a good job of coaching. It's evident. I mean, you look and see, if you have an eye for football at all, you see things are haywire. It's too crazy.
Well, look, offensively, they're a dumpster fire. Defensively, they're really good. But defense alone, man cannot live by defense alone. And I don't know what philosopher said that, but I'm using it.
And I'll say this. They weren't prepared for Aaron Rodgers to get hurt. I mean,
no. I don't know that anybody could have been.
And yes, Zach Wilson, we know Zach Wilson's not a good quarterback, but for them, I mean, I think you cut him a little bit of slack, but it's still been really bad. I mean, Wilson hasn't improved.
And you've got all these salary cap issues around what has gone on with Aaron Rodgers. The Jets fan base not only is rabid, but they're really frustrated.
They are.
They are tired of getting their butt handed to them by the Patriots, and they thought going in this would all end when Aaron Rodgers got here.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? It hasn't.
And Namath also said they need to make major changes from top to bottom.
Yeah.
So
and
I don't know
they
about
just have
that.
to kind of grin and bear it.
Yeah, offensively, obviously, they need a quarterback, and maybe they get one. I've heard of Kirk Cousins.
Well, in the next week or two, something's going to play out. Okay?
Something's got to give.
Sunday night, when they play the Chiefs.
That might be a turning point.
It might be, because if the Chiefs are able to simply stifle them on that stage and the fans start going off late in the game, it's going to force the front office's hand.
Mm-hmm.
It just is.
We'll see what happens. Let's go to college football. Yesterday, the attorneys for suspended Michigan State head coach Mel Tucker responded to the school's letter last week that it intends to fire him for cause, claiming the university adopted the allegations against Tucker without any meaningful review of facts. So they have responded, and his lawyers laid out a case in a 25-page document that includes point-by-point reasons the school shouldn't be allowed to fire him for cause. And we know Michigan State's hoping to avoid paying him $79 million.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to pretend to know, but here's what I do know. The people who are going to get rich are lawyers.
Exactly.
Lawyer up.
On both sides, and potentially.
Ooh.
I mean, probably Michigan State, I would guess. But, I mean, you never know. Mel Tucker, a lot of these coaches have really good lawyers.
Michigan State's got them on retainer. They have that advantage as a school. Who knows what kind of deal Tucker has? It may well be a contingency. I don't pretend to know, but I know what I know, and that is the lawyers are going to make the money.
Yeah. Well, what I know is that the Braves are hot heading into the playoffs right now. They're banged up, though. Obviously,
yeah,
pitching.
They got big issues.
Big pitching issues. They got the Cubs tonight, 6:20 on TBS. Justin Steele versus Bryce Elder. Swanson's return to Atlanta. So obviously,
I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, the Cubs are out of it, though, right? Yeah, so doesn't
that
really
becomes
matter.
The big story.
Yeah,
and my guess is that Dansby will be treated a little bit like Freddie Freeman, maybe not as
because Freeman went to the Dodgers.
Well, but Freeman was given a hero's welcome. Will it get to that level with Dansby? I don't know, but I think it'll be a warm reunion.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, they won a World Series with those guys.
He did nothing wrong in this.
No, he didn't. If anything, his wife landing on a team in Chicago, I think that was the big
probably greased the wheel to go with the Cubs.
The big tipping point there. Big one tonight: Astros and Mariners, 9:00 on the late game on TBS
last night.
Big playoff implications here, and I got a stat graphic here I saw on ESPN. The tipping point here: the Astros have the edge, right? They, if they win, they've got a 76% chance to make the playoffs.
You mean if they win tonight?
If they win tonight,
okay.
Yes. Actually, that's their current chance. If they win, they got a 93. So if they win,
Justin Verlander stuffed it up there. You know what? Last night, I watched it.
Yes, and if they win, they're basically in. But with a loss, it drops down to 60%.
It's a huge game.
It is. And for the Mariners, if they win, they still only have a 44% chance, but they have to have both teams need it, right? And you don't really have the horses going. I checked who's going for both teams. I forgot, but
Verlander went last night. Here's the thing. None of these American League teams are dying to play Seattle. Seattle is a rising, good young club.
Yeah.
And if they don't get in this year, mark my words, they are at some point soon going to be a factor in the American League. Huge crowd last night.
Yeah, it might be too little too late for them this year, but they'll be back.
Yeah.
And that's it for the update.
Okay, so here's what we've got going today. Obviously, Tony Basilio will join us from Knoxville. We'll get into what is the level of venom around the South Carolina rematch. Because think about all the Gamecocks caused a year ago. The hurt that they caused Tennessee was massive. And then we're going to get into a little bit of something that the three of us decided to do, rating the SEC quarterbacks 1 through 14. And I'll tell you this, 1 was pretty easy, 14 was pretty easy. In between is a free-for-all.
A lot like the league right now.
I want to see what Tony thinks when we get into this. So stay tuned. We've got a lot coming from the Boone Business Center on the Trevecca University campus. This is the George Plaster Show.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
The George Plaster Show is Nashville's best sports talk, 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. There's a podcast version available on Spotify and Apple Podcast. We welcome all of you back. We are at the Boone Business Center on the campus of Trevecca University, and during the 3 o'clock hour, we'll meet up with Trevecca Athletic Director Mark Elliot, an old classmate of mine at Vandy. I don't think he ever had to go to summer school. And Matt Wilson, who is now the commissioner of the Gulf South, but a lot of us knew Matt from his days in Nashville at Belmont. First, most importantly, let's go to Knoxville and say hello to Knoxville's sports talk show host, Tony Basilio. Tony, get a good look. I paid for this.
Hey, man, you look great. I was going to say, I look like somebody would flip $1 to, and you look awesome today. So
you need help.
Yes. Yes.
So how late were you up Saturday, even though it was a day game?
Let's see. No, it wasn't a day game. Here it started at, 4 Eastern, 7, probably midnight 30. It wasn't too bad.
Not bad.
No.
So I always love it when players and coaches deny the word revenge. And about 2/3 of the time, I don't buy any of it.
Right.
I have got to believe that this is a revenge kind of deal with South Carolina, that the Tennessee players have circled a date and said, man, we can't wait to get at them.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. In fact, George, if they, the truth is, if they don't have that, a little bit of that in them, I mean, this South Carolina team kept Tennessee from a national playoff last year. That's what happened.
Exactly.
I mean, it's very simple. Tennessee wins that game. They did not have to play in the SEC championship game to get to the national playoff. They were going to get in, like we've seen teams do that in the past in this league. But Tennessee went out and had a Twilight Zone night. But they're playing a South Carolina team. I saw your graphic, leading in terms of ranking quarterbacks in this league.
Yeah.
Quarterback play in this league is as bad as it's been in a long time, George. And this is an era where we're allowed to pay these guys now, and none of that makes any sense. The good quarterbacks are all in the league that's going to dissolve out there on the West Coast. That makes no sense. But anyway, the guy Tennessee's going to see Saturday night, the Vols better knock this team out early and put them out of their misery, because that guy right there is my number one quarterback in the league. And that guy is playing at a really high level. And he's playing at a high level without a ton of playmakers around him, without a great running game, without a very good offensive line. And he's, in his words, Colin Taylor today, who we had on from over there, Gamecock Central, Colin said that that guy is saying that he is the point guard on the field, and that's the way he looks at himself. By any means necessary, distribute the ball, however I can distribute it. And he's been doing it. Spencer Rattler's made a real believer out of me, George, because I thought when he was at Oklahoma, he was kind of I don't know, he was sort of off-putting. He was hard to like. And now he's hard not to like, because he goes out there and never points the finger at his teammates. He's very good. He's had a great season so far, even though they're only 2-2.
It was the Tennessee game that started getting people's attention about him.
Well, it might have been the Vandy. He played really well against Vandy here too. But Tennessee nationally, that's
big national stage. So, what do the South Carolina people think has changed about Rattler?
What they've done is they've just changed their approach with him. They've tailored the offense to him that's allowed him to flourish. And they basically, beginning with that Vanderbilt game, it's funny you mentioned that because Colin Taylor talked about that. Was that the week before the Tennessee game last year, Billy? Is that the
It was several.
I think it was
before.
2 or 3 weeks before, but
he
Vanderbilt
was saying
didn't.
The lights were starting to come on.
Yeah,
because they were starting to hand the ball to him, and they had basically decided what we're doing here is not working. Now they have a new offensive coordinator with them this year. He does, who those two guys apparently are hand in glove. And I'm telling you, if the game is close in the second half and Tennessee's not able to knock them out early, and the thing about Tennessee is they haven't been able to knock anybody out early this year. If the game is somewhat of a football game in the third quarter, I do not trust Tennessee's secondary, and I don't trust Tennessee's offense in a close game to execute, even though the game's in Tennessee's building.
Okay. By the way, let me tell you this on the front end. Kelly will not be here today, so you're stuck with me.
The good news
for some really stupid stuff.
The great news.
Well, that's debatable. So let me try this one. So you saw this exercise that we've tried to do today.
Yeah.
Where would you put Joe Milton 1 through 14 of quarterbacks in the SEC?
On my daily show today, I did a thing because we're at the third poll. Things we know about the season, things we thought and things we know. We thought, a lot of people did, I didn't, but we thought here that Joe Milton was going to have a breakout year and become a star in college football. Not the case. Joe Milton's okay, though. Joe Milton's an okay quarterback. bordering on pretty good, depending on when you see them. I would put them somewhere in the middle, 6, 7. I mean, off the top of my head, 5, 6.
That's exactly
7,
where we put him at 7.
Yeah,
and
fair.
we'll release this thing after the interview with you, and then when Kelly gets back tomorrow, we'll talk a lot more about it. Mm-hmm. It feels like Tennessee's season is in a little bit of a holding pattern. They flunked a test against Florida and honestly flunked it miserably. Mm-hmm. And it feels like, okay, the next big test is when they go to Tuscaloosa. Do you buy kind of this holding pattern thing at all?
I do, George, and I don't, because I don't think the team's good enough to just throw the ball out there against South Carolina and win. Tennessee's got to have a fast start in that game, has to get the crowd behind them. They're going with their dark mode jerseys. I get what you're saying in terms of signature games, but that's the jersey they're going to go with. And, look, I'm an old man. Get off my lawn. I just say wear your colors. But, those days are gone forever. So even our major league teams have like 7 uniforms.
Oh,
you don't know
God.
what you're looking at half the time.
Yes.
The Cincinnati Bengal uniform they wore last night, they look like a really bad cost cutter Winn-Dixie snack cake back in the day, some kind of vanilla thing with chocolate dribbled on top of it. Anyway, but to your point, Texas A&M is in here and after Tennessee's off week.
Right.
Very, 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 very dangerous game for the Vols. So I do get what you're saying. I think it's interesting looking at Alabama. Like, let me ask you this, sneak peek. Where do you have Alabama's quarterback? Can I guess?
Sure.
Bottom 4 in the league?
We had him at number 10.
Yeah.
And, okay, so while we're on this, what's the matter, Billy?
Are you going to want me to show it? Because it's not quite ready yet. The
No,
you don't have to show
we won't show it. Did you think Ole Miss by about the start of the fourth quarter wanted to get on the bus and say, let's get the hell out of here?
George, I don't know how to say this, but I'll say it. Lane Kiffin, for the attention he gets from the media that covers that sport, commensurate with his accomplishments as a head coach, he deserves about a quarter of the coverage that he gets. What's his signature win as a head coach? I mean, I'm serious. You know what it is? It's beating Tennessee and Knoxville 2 years ago when he came back here. And the game that ended with people throwing stuff on the field and a golf ball miraculously rolling up at his feet that I think somebody from his staff rolled out there. I think that thing had a Colonel Reb on it or an Ole Miss logo. But at any rate, what is his signature win? I'm going to help you out, Ole Miss fans and national media that fawns all over this guy. He doesn't have one. He does not have one. They had, George, to your point, they had a golden opportunity to win that game Saturday. That Alabama team, and I know Ole Miss is beat up. I get it. I get their running game is beat up, and their great back was kind of beat up coming into the game. And their wide receivers, one of whom they got out of the transfer portal, ironically enough, from Texas San Antonio, haven't been able to play. I understand that. But that Alabama team, if you score 20 points, you're winning the game.
Do you remember, Tony, when you and I were growing up, Roberto Duran threw in the towel, no mas. Well, Ole Miss did everything. They didn't have a towel, but
I agree,
it looked like no mas.
I agree. And that is Lane Kiffin's coaching in a nutshell. I look at Nick Saban, who knows he doesn't have a team this year to do what Alabama fans are. You know how I know that? On his coach's show, he's acting like he has a personality.
Right.
What happens to these guys is they have to turn human when they know they're out of players. And he's at a spot this year where, I mean, he's acting like he has a sense of humor. He had an upside down smile on his coach's show the other night. He was messing around with a caller, and then the other day on his coach's show, one of my guys, Matt Dixon, told me he saw a video of him showing that block kick, and he went and detailed that block kick. And then afterwards he said, yeah, and of course we got the ball at the 1 yard line and went backwards like 24 yards. And he was just kind of him and hawing, laughing. I mean, all of a sudden Saban's got a personality. It means his team can't play.
That's an interesting take because you're right. Any other time, it's not quite like that.
Oh, no.
So let's go back on Tennessee. What's Cooper Mays' situation right now?
So Cooper Mays and George, I'd known about this for some time. Tennessee pretended that he was going to see the field, with Florida. He was never going to play.
Right.
He had a triple hernia surgery. And we had all kind of known, and I'm certainly not going to report that. I mean, I'm just not. And but we also knew that Josh Heupel was doing the college football head coach deal, which is, yeah, it's possible he'll play Saturday. What Heupel did that kind of aggravated me, and I talked about it on my show today, and I blogged about it as well, is he made it sound like the last couple of weeks that the young guy warmed up and said, nah, I just don't feel like going. I don't believe that. The protocol in a surgery like that generally is after 6 weeks, you're cleared. Now, maybe he's a super fast healer, but I don't know why a head coach after a game twice would repeat that. And he said it at Florida too. We brought Cooper down here, but he warmed up and didn't feel. He was never going to play in that game. I mean, a guy with a triple hernia surgery, like people I talk to, they say if you go out there before it's too soon with a surgery like that, you could rupture inside all that stuff you've had done. And 1 is enough. 3 is, buddy, and I can't imagine how painful that is. And then to try and play, SEC football on top of that. His status is that Saturday is really the first time outside of that window that we could see him. And if he doesn't play in this game, I would expect that after the off week, they'll get him acclimated and he'll be ready for the Texas A&M game, is my best guess. If he doesn't play this weekend, I think he's probably going to play this weekend, though.
Okay, I'm going to throw a couple of questions. Let's describe these as totally out of left field. You ready?
Sure.
This was, by the way, your father and I had this conversation earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted me to give you his best.
I love my man Watson Brown. Love him.
He's the best. If everybody in the SEC ends up the season with 2 losses or more, is there a scenario where the SEC doesn't get a team in the playoff?
Oh, I think that's going to happen. In fact, I think if Georgia loses a game, if you look at the way things are going right now, that's highly possible that you do not see an SEC team get a playoff. I'll ask you this. Does the SEC, if that scenario were to occur, George, do they deserve to have a playoff team?
But as you know, it just means more.
Oh, I know it means more. But you know what's funny? I mean, eventually, and this is what's happened this year, when you have enough players that go to the NFL, which is what this league is. This league is the closest thing to the NFL that you have. Every once in a while, you're going to have a year where nobody has a full cupboard. And that's what's going on this year. I look at Georgia, and that's a Georgia team that Georgia from 3 or 4 years ago would beat by 4 touchdowns.
Right. They're number one right now because everybody has taken the attitude. They've won 2 years in a row, and until they lose, they're going to be number one. But they don't feel like a number one.
And, George, their schedule's not very good. I mean, if you look at their schedule, it's not very good. And that's why if they suffered 1 loss, they would be in grave danger, I believe, because their non-league's not very good. It kind of never is, which is sort of a little unwhispered secret. Alabama attempts to play people. Tennessee attempts to play people. Georgia and Florida, Florida plays Florida State annually. At least they try to play somebody. Florida's playing Miami and Florida State next year, along with Central Florida. But, the fact of the matter is that this is almost a perfect year for that to occur, which is almost unthinkable, by the way.
Okay. You want question number 2 that's totally out of left field.
I love left field, man. I live in left field.
Okay. Friday night, I've gotten home from watching the high school that I went to, and I have turned on the television to Boise State and San Diego State on the CBS Sports Network. And somebody asked this question, and I thought, that's a hell of a question, and I'm going to hit Tony with it. The question was, if Colorado had hired Deion a year earlier, would the Pac-12 have all these teams bolting?
It's such a great,
Is that not a hell of a question?
It's a great question because a lot of this stuff is all overreaction to the moment. A lot of this realignment of conferences and who's hot and who's not. The reason it's a great question, George, is if you stop and think about it, programs are only worth at that point in time who the coach is and what direction they're heading in. Like if I would have asked you about Tennessee football a couple of years ago when they were floundering in the wilderness before Heupel showed up and stabilized things, it's always been a great brand, but it's not what it is. Colorado is even more pronounced because Colorado was in Nowheresville, like Nowheresville. And now the weirdest thing about that pack, whatever they are right now, I've lost track counting how many teams are in all these leagues, but this is their last go around. They probably have the best quarterback play in the league from top to bottom. They have the most interesting story in college football. Whether USC lets the air out of Colorado or not, they're still highly interesting. Every time they take the field, they're still going to be highly interesting. And the truth is, I don't know how to answer your question. Because if they could do it all over again, if you put USC and UCLA back in that league and nothing happens, okay, and you've got Deion Sanders there, what would ESPN bid for that deal?
See, it's a great point. And by the way, feel free to plagiarize and steal it.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great thought.
And this happened like at midnight. I'm about half asleep. And I hear this guy ask this question on the CBS Sports Network, which had about 46 viewers at that point. And I was like, oh my God, this is this is a great question.
It's an incredible question because, again, these networks are all captive to the moment. And Deion Sanders has changed the game there. Friend of mine that's in that business said if Colorado with Deion decided right now they would go independent, they could get a huge television deal. They could do their own thing. Because they're the university of whatever they are. They're like their own thing almost.
Okay, you've got a night game against South Carolina, which obviously is going to lead in some form or fashion to a crazy post game.
Yes.
I want people to know how to reach you into the wee hours of the night.
I mean, look at me. tclub.team. I started out, like several weeks ago on here, just getting back from the beach, and I was all tan, and now my hair is all gray. I look disheveled and literally look like somebody that, if I went out in public right now looking like this, I'd probably get a buck or two slipped in me. Which tclub.team is my website. George, I got a funny story for you real quick. So when I go somewhere, I bring my guitar, okay? Like if I travel. Right. So I went to Philly when my son graduated from University of Pennsylvania, which is really ironic what I'm about to tell you. I went down after his ceremony, and we all wanted to get some rest. Everybody was a little tired. And so my family went and took a nap. And I grabbed my guitar and went and sat in Center City and played music. Okay? This guy walks up to me, and I was semi-dressed because I was just at my son's thing. I had like a decent shirt on. But I just had this look about me. This guy walked up to me.
I know where you're going.
When I was playing music, he handed me $20. I said, sir, I'm not doing this for money. This is a true story. I said, I'm not doing this for money. He said, oh, I know you're not. He said, but go get yourself something to eat. And
Oh
I
my
took the
God.
money. I didn't know what to say because I went out without my wallet, because I didn't want to get mugged. I mean, no offense to Philly, but that's a great place to get mugged. And so I met up with my wife later, and I'm like, look what I got. And she goes, well, I know that wasn't in your wallet because you don't have your wallet with you. Some guy literally gave me $20 because of the way I look. So
the next time you speak to some civic club,
yes,
that's got to be your first story. That's hilarious. That is great stuff. Hey, as always, thank you.
Hey, thank you guys. Thanks.
He's the best. He's Tony Basilio joining us from Knoxville. So after the break, my guess is we're going to delay the quarterback thing.
No, we're good. We're good.
Let's delay it until Kelly gets back.
Okay.
And then get you to react to the question that I stole off the CBS Sports Network. Stay tuned.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
We're back at the Boone Business Center on the campus of Trevecca University. They have just formally announced a new affiliation with the Gulf South Conference. During the 3 o'clock hour, Trevecca Athletic Director Mark Elliot, a former classmate of mine, he did a hell of a lot better than I did. He'll join us right at 3. And then the commissioner of the Gulf South, Matt Wilson, Mark Wilson was the former quarterback of the Raiders going way, way back. Anyway, so you heard that question that I asked, and I stole it off the CBS Sports Network, and that is what would have happened to the Pac-12 if Deion had gone to Colorado a year earlier?
I don't think maybe you have a couple of teams that move out. Maybe USC and UCLA are still in the Big Ten, but I don't think the conference falls apart simply because, you've got that name recognition with Deion Sanders and Colorado still in your conference. Now, maybe that Colorado could have still moved, right? I think there's still that possibility, but with Deion Sanders there, and USC and UCLA still there, maybe the entire thing holds up.
I mean, when I heard the question, look, it was midnight. I was about half asleep. But when the guy asked it, I was like, whoa, this is a great question. Because a conference that has UCLA and USC and Deion's Colorado, the Deion that in the first month of regular season play has gotten that campus just incredible pub. I mean, he had Fox and ESPN doing dueling, pre-games.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before. I mean, I've got to think that the networks would have said, let's talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, with Deion Sanders, he just resonates with a different type of person, and there's not many people that were even fans of college football that are now on the Colorado bandwagon. I mean, there's a lot of people that they could have cared less about college football, but now Deion Sanders at Colorado, and all of a sudden they've got, I don't even know how many more new fans of the Buffaloes.
It's also gotten the quote of the year from Oregon football coach Dan Lanning, who said, we're trying to win games. They're trying to get clicks.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, talk about fueling some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got a league. Let's just argue this, not argue it, but you've got Washington State, who's way better than they've ever been. Got a Heisman Trophy candidate if you've ever seen this quarterback.
Yeah.
An Oregon State with DJ Ungalale, if I said it right, who, by the way, it's making Clemson look stupid how effective he's been at Oregon State.
Yeah.
You've got Washington, who right now looks like the class of the whole thing. USC with a returning Heisman Trophy winner. Colorado, UCLA, and USC. If you had that group back together, you don't think that there wouldn't be some bucks being shelled out?
Oh, I mean, number one, with Deion Sanders, take Deion out of it. We're not even talking about this, right? I mean, this is all about Deion Sanders in Colorado and their, immediate success. So does one team, affect that decision from the Pac-12? Well, and that's the question. And I firmly believe that if Deion Sanders was hired 2 years ago, the Pac-12 would be alive and well.
Deion Sanders replaced Carl Durrell, a former Vandy offensive coordinator who, frankly, was a dud at Vandy.
And not very good at Colorado.
And now, if you go back in Colorado's history, under Bill McCartney, they won a national title. They split a national title 32 years ago with Georgia Tech, 1990.
Yep.
They beat Rocket Ishmael and Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. Anyway, little history lesson there. I don't know how important it is, but when I heard the question, I was like, oh my God, he's right.
I mean, you can't ignore it. It's kind of crazy.
Okay, we'll go to the break, First up in the 3 o'clock hour, we'll have Stat of the Day. Then we'll meet up with Trevecca Athletic Director and a former Vandy classmate of mine, Mark Elliot. So stick around. We got a lot coming. Hello, Gruff Dog. That is Greg Ruff. And as I used to in my radio life threaten people, I would say, if you don't behave, we will send this man to your home. Get back in here a second. In fact, put this on for just a second. So Gruff Dog and I, hold on. Let's act like you know what you're doing here.
Okay. All right.
Okay. We'll adjust.
Can you do something with my belly?
No. Gruff Dog and I worked in radio together at bankrupt WTN.
Yep.
Man, there is a book to be written.
I will tell you this. I dog George a lot. But one of the greatest acts of humanity, there's been two. This was one of them that I saw from him. He would allow everybody else to go to the bank and get their check cashed, and he would be the last one.
But Gruff Dog,
that was one of two
countered,
great things I ever knew about him. The rest of it's just terrible.
But Gruff Dog came with the best line I've ever heard. The day my grandmother died, I was very close with my grandmother. My mom gave me a list of people to call. And so I go back to the station. It's nighttime. Gruff Dog's the only other person there. And he walks in, and I'm a mess. You asked, is your grandmother okay? And I said, no, she passed away. And I was really upset. And Gruff Dog made the comment that it was the first time he ever knew I had a heart.
But I made you laugh, didn't I?
Good line. Yeah, I needed it.
And you had a great grandmother, by the way.
Oh, she was the best.
And parents.
They were the best.
Yeah.
We'll go to the break, and then we'll meet up with your boss. Trevecca Athletic Director Mark Elliot will join us after Stat of the Day, so stick around.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday. So who said I can't be a golfer? Well, you know what? This is X Golf, located just down the road from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. This is fun. It'll improve your golf game, and you need to stop in and check it out. 8138 Sawyer Brown Road, and who knows, I may get to 200 before it's all over. Here's my buddy Sam Moran to tell you about a basketball event that's coming just around the corner that you need to attend.
Thank you, George. Stars Basketball Club will be having our nightly fundraising dinner on Tuesday, October 3rd at Brentwood Baptist Church. That's at 7777 Concord Road in Brentwood, Tennessee. We look forward to hosting Coach Jimmy Dykes with ESPN and SEC Network basketball college analysts, as well as Miss Betty Wiseman from Belmont University with other college coaches in attendance. You can go and find out more at starsbasketballclub.com. And we look forward to seeing you Tuesday, October 3rd at 5:30 in Brentwood, Tennessee.
Order your tickets. I'll be there, and I hope you will be as well.
We're back here at Trevecca. Before we get to Matt Wilson,
apparently
special
Mark
guest.
Elliott is signing autographs.
So we're switching.
So he'll be delayed a little bit.
Switching
Poor
around here.
impersonation of Mark Elliott here.
We got to get to Stat of the Day, though, brought to you by John English
And
Antique
Matt, you can
Sports.
help us with this because this is a recipe for failure. Watch closely.
John English Antique Sports and Cards out in Shelbyville brings it to us every day. All right. Yordan Alvarez is the second player in Astros history with 3 straight 30 home run seasons. Who was the first?
Okay, Commissioner, are you a baseball fan?
Enough.
Okay.
I play Immaculate Grid sometimes. Does that count?
Oh, absolutely
Okay,
it
all right,
does. Good for you.
Good.
Okay, Jeff Bagwell would be a possibility. Jimmy Wynn, the toy cannon. Am I missing anybody?
Probably not Kevin Bass, right?
I wouldn't think to that level.
No, Jeff Bagwell is the first one that jumps to mind for me.
So, Billy, we're going either Jeff Bagwell or Jimmy Wynn.
Okay, Bagwell or Wynn. It is
Ah,
Bagwell.
There we go.
There
Nice
we go.
job,
Hey,
George. Good job.
Good job,
All right.
Commissioner.
A little bit of teamwork there.
Uh-huh.
So, this is not our first rodeo with Gulf South Commissioner Matt Wilson. This is going to be some fun, reliving some days. What were your Belmont years?
So I started working there in 98 and left in 2004. So nice time there. And it's been a minute, but I was a graduate too, 94 to 98. Graduated in 98, and Mike Strickland hired me right after that.
So how did the commissioner thing happen?
You know, it's funny. The Belmont ended up hosting the Atlantic Sun Conference basketball tournament for 2 years in a row, and I got a really good relationship with the then senior associate commissioner. And they had an opening come up and said, Matt, we think you'd be perfect. And I was ready to scratch that itch and went and found it. Then I found I really like commissioner work. Conference work has a lot more feel of entrepreneurial, small business. And I don't envy some of what these administrators do and how often they're on campus and the hours they put in. But conference work's been pretty fun for me.
So what would be something about your job that's really fun that the average person wouldn't know?
Oh man, that's a great question. Being at the championships is the best part. Getting to watch the kids compete in venues they don't always get to compete at. And we sponsor 19 sports. We end up having 12 championships. Some of them are combined. That's the best part of the job. The second best part of that is we do an annual awards night where we recognize the top 10 student athletes and some administration stuff. And any night you get to celebrate other people with them and you take a little bit of that competition edge out of some folks, it's a really good time.
Pretty cool.
It is. It is.
So the backstory to Trevecca is that when they were thinking about going Division II, Mark Elliott consulted with his old boss and a person I would refer to as my second dad, C.M. Newton. And Coach Newton had retired at the University of Kentucky. He'd moved back to Tuscaloosa, and he kept coming up here for these meetings. And he would call me and say, get Mike Petroni. You and I and Petro would have these dinners. We had 6 or 7 of the craziest dinners because Coach Newton always came with some topic that he felt like needed to be discussed with 2 idiots. And it was hilarious. Late in his life, it was so much fun. You probably didn't know that part, did you?
No, I didn't. And I'm sure the topics were great. Where was dinner at, though?
Well, he always paid. He knew if we paid, it wouldn't be very good. So we got
you come from the Coach Meyer school where you pull out the Captain D's coupons and take everybody, right?
So there were some great times. But tell me a little bit about, just sort of run through the timeline of how this came to be today.
Yeah, Mark Elliott and I probably had our first conversation 10 years ago when I got the job.
Yeah.
And it was one of those where Mark said, hey, remember, we're here. We're interested in having a conversation. I said, I know. When the time's right, we'll continue to have a conversation. And we just talked, every 3-6 months, see each other at the NCAA convention. And over the last 6 months or so, there's been circumstances related to some of our own membership changes, to the NCAA, the way they're going to award spots into NCAA Division II championships, that made it a line where between the sports that Trevecca sponsored, the location Trevecca was at, and the success that they've had, made a lot of sense for us to say, okay, This is no longer hypotheticals. Let's talk about what this really looks like. And it happened really quick. I was in Orlando watching my daughter play AAU volleyball, and I remember being in the lobby calling Mark and saying, hey, I think we can do this, and I think we can do this before October 1st if you're ready.
Wow.
And he said, okay, let's give it a shot.
Let's go.
And man, we just hit the accelerator and got after it.
So the obvious first benefit is this market and what it might do for you TV-wise. Who knows? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. Our folks are excited to come here, right? Obviously, destination city. For Division II schools, one of the key parts of athletics is what it does for enrollment, right? Maybe you carry extra players on a team. Maybe you have a developmental team. Maybe you have more sports. So for our member institutions, the opportunity to have events where their institutional name is heard in a market like Nashville and Middle Tennessee with a number of high school students in the area, number of families, is a huge deal for us. And then obviously, we don't get this kind of public exposure. Great job by Greg Ruff, who I know has great relationships with everybody out there.
Gruff
You've known
Dog.
Gruff Dog for a minute,
Dog
right?
And I go back a long
I thought you
ways.
might. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I think Greg called a game or two in Stripling while I was there. So, that we don't get this kind of attention or opportunity to even try to get this kind of attention in a lot of our other areas. So it's really important for us market-wise, both for enrollment opportunities for our schools and branding.
Who will become Trevecca's biggest rivals?
What we find in the Gulf South a lot is it's almost sport by sport, right? It's teams that really battle each other. But Union and Lee, I think, will happen very, very quickly. And then UAH is Alabama Huntsville is a tremendous basketball program. Lots of other great programs. Their basketball programs tend to lead others to be rivals with them because they've been really good. Yeah. And that's kind of what that happens. So I think those three schools have an opportunity to create some. But you've been around sport long enough. All it takes is one extra chippy game or close championship game that goes one way or the other, and all of a sudden
officiating at the end.
Please don't. That's flashbacks and terrible. You asked about the best part, and then you bring up the worst part of commissioning. But those sort of things create rivals. But I know that they're very, very excited for that first basketball game doubleheader with Union or Lee.
Is the Division II? Have they got their stuff better? Got their stuff? I don't know how I'm asking this, but I don't like the direction I see of Division I. I see a level of greed that has gotten completely out of control. And I'm guessing you all don't fight that as much.
No, our challenges are different. I think Division II really is the model. If you could rewind 60 years and say, we're going to try to do this athletics thing all over again, Division II might look like it, right? Limited number of full scholarships. Regional competition where you're actually playing people that are close to you, where maybe you can get in a bus and get there instead of flying, then renting a bus and then driving and then getting back in the bus and flying back to campus, that those sort of things would be important. But we know why Division I's where it's at. It's the money, right?
Sure.
I mean, it's the money that's been thrown at it by the media organizations, and it's been the money that folks have gladly taken from the campuses that have turned it into the situation it is. And they've got some real challenges.
Oh.
But it's important for Division II to keep a big tent. The NCAA's, the bulk of the NCAA budget comes from the men's basketball championship agreement with CBS and Turner. If that top group breaks away or something, that money's going to go with them. Super negative impact for Division II, Division III, and those lower level Division I's.
Because you all get TV exposure out of that.
Well, in revenue.
Yeah.
So my budget, our budget's only about $1.1 million in the Gulf South. About 40% of that comes from the NCAA, and almost all of that 40% comes from that basketball deal.
Are you having more fun than Greg Sankey is?
I don't know. We have the same problems, just different decimal points. So some days I'm going to say I am, and then other days I'm jealous of his decimal point.
Yeah.
But he's got a hard job. I mean, his job is a lot closer to what Roger Goodell does than it is what I do. I mean, that is
his salary.
Well, that is true. But I did watch my kids both play sports this weekend. I'm not sure how many opportunities either one of them get to do that. So there are some trade-offs. But they have really, really hard jobs. We also have challenging jobs in the same way. But I'll tell you, it's fun to work in college athletics. I never thought that watching SportsCenter, well, I guess people don't watch SportsCenter anymore. I don't know if they do or not. But at one time, this was a good analogy. Watching SportsCenter for your work was what you had to do to make sure you were prepared for the day. who can complain about a career like that, right?
You got that right.
Matt, what's the dream scenario for the Gulf South? You look ahead 10 years. Where do you want to see this conference? More teams, more cities? I mean, what's the future look like?
A great question. So we've got a football sponsorship issue in the Gulf South Conference. Okay, we've only got 8 schools that are going to be playing football next year. The year after that, we're down to 5 because of some attrition through affiliate members, some other folks leaving. We've got to figure out the football solution. So we've got to get to 8 football schools. But I'd love for us to be 16 or 20 schools. Hey, bring them. Let's more the merrier. Let's make our tournaments bigger, our regular seasons bigger. Let's bring everybody in. Let's go.
For Nashville, I mean, how excited are you as a conference? I know you got Lee and there's other schools in the state, but to have a school right almost smack dab. I mean, what is it, George? 20 minutes from downtown? Not even 10 minutes? I mean, it's
from here.
Yeah.
It's a good
20-minute walk.
throw.
I mean, yeah. So people don't. I feel like there's a lot of people that don't realize how close it really is. What does that mean?
It's great. Our schools are so excited about that opportunity. I mean, our fans are going to come. They may not come every time, but I guarantee you, first couple of times there'll be some extra people in here to see what it's about. Take advantage of what downtown has to offer. And it's just good again for the branding of the conference. I know we're not going to own any markets. I mean, it's no different than what TSU or Lipscomb or Belmont trying to say they own the Belmont or the Nashville market, but they do have access, right? Their names are heard. They do have some branding and things like that. So it's exciting for us. And then you just look around Trevecca, I'm a Belmont grad, and this is not what Trevecca looked like in 1998 or 99.
And by the way,
let's not
Belmont
even talk about
either.
I was over there. I was going to say, let's not talk about Murfreesboro Road either. That's a whole different story in 98 or 99 as well. But this place looks totally different, transformational, what Dr. Boone has done. And even 10 years ago when they were talking to the Gulf South before my time, 12 years ago, I don't think that this is the campus that our folks saw when they came to try to evaluate whether Trevecca could be a Gulf South member. So all things positive, all things good. We're super excited. And we think that having a school in Nashville opens us up to potentially other institutions. I mean, there's a lot of schools that see that growth and that aspiration as a good thing for their institution. They want to be part of it.
A lot of win-win.
Ton.
Is there a scenario where you would like to have your postseason basketball tournament here?
I think if we could find the right size venue, we're at Sanford right now, which is perfect size for us. They pushed the top level back, so we got about 3,200 seats maybe. There's some venues like that in Nashville. I think anything we can have, any kind of championship we can have in Nashville is a good thing for our student athletes. And I'll call you for some hotel rates though, okay?
Good luck.
Thanks, Matt.
If you tell them you know me, they'll double the rate.
No, that's what I was afraid of.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Not much has changed. Hey, thank you for taking the time to do this. I'm thrilled for you all. I'm thrilled for them. Thrilled for Mark. This just feels like a win-win for everywhere.
I've been so excited since we got this going, and that's fun work to do, to meet new people, to try to share a vision and be able to make things happen. So it's great. Thank you all for being out here. Good luck.
Absolutely.
How long have you been doing this platform?
This is about 1.5 years, and I'll be honest, I don't see the advantage to anybody seeing me.
Well, I was going to say, surely there's something else they could put up there besides the two of us on that camera. Oh my God.
Skull and crossbones.
I mean, good Lord, the glare. I appreciate the lights from the top of my head, at least being down. So,
Will Levis told me a story that he used to get on Franklin at Penn State and say, Coach, you're blinding me with the glare.
Is that why he's got the sunglasses on all the time?
I don't know, but I love the story. Hey, awesome. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you both.
Matt Wilson joining us. The commissioner, by the way, he wasn't the commissioner back when I first knew him. This man has risen up. I've kind of gone, well, either way, after the break, we'll be joined by Trevecca Athletic Director and former classmate, Mark Elliot, who I never saw in summer school, but trust me when I tell you, I was there. Stay tuned.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, you need to call Bart Durham. And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
I'm Watson Brown.
I'm Kelly Holcomb.
I'm Billy Derrick.
We're the George Plaster Show. We've been Nashville's best sports talk for the last 30 years. And you know what? We still are.
Catch us live weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time in Nashville on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, the podcast version is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution. For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen-printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges, they have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom-cut acrylic, name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen-printed T-shirts, laser-engraved Yeti cups, and knives. Recognize your hard-working team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256-7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House, for all your personalization and recognition needs.
All right, I'm here with my buddy Chip Ward from Lincoln Home Loans. And Chip, it's football season. And it's also, it feels like it's moving season every time of the year, especially here in Nashville. Tell us about your business, Chip, and kind of introduce people to who you are and what you do here in the Nashville area.
Well, you're exactly right, Billy. It is definitely moving season, as it is most times, especially right here after Labor Day. Kids are back in school, and people are starting to think they want to get settled in before the holidays. And so what we are doing is right now we are getting a lot of people pre-approved for home loans. Inventory has ticked up a little bit. You know, it has been down, but it's rebounding a little bit. And right now is a good time to buy.
Chip, real quick before I let you go, tell people how they can reach you. And if someone is interested in your business, how would they reach out to you?
Well, sure. At Lincoln Home Loans, you can reach me at 615-500-7579. My URL for my application page is chipward.net. And my email address is simply chip@chipward.net. And so I'd love to hear from anybody. I can answer any questions about the whole home buying and financing process.
We are back at the Boone Business Center on the campus at Trevecca University. Big moment today announcing the school's affiliation with the Gulf South Conference. Athletic director, former classmate of mine, sort of. Mark Elliot is the athletic director at Trevecca. I never saw you in summer school.
I didn't take summer school, George. I went to
majored
my
in-
classes
I majored
during
in
the
summer
fall and
school.
spring. I didn't have to catch up. But that was back, think about this, George. That's back in the day when you went to class in the fall and the spring, and there was no such thing as making up stuff in the summer or staying there all summer long so you could practice. And it was just a completely different era. I still tell people when they ask me, did you play at Vanderbilt? I said, yeah, I played back when the socks were long and the shorts were short.
And you played two sports, and now I don't think you can do that.
It's right. That's the other thing I say. Yeah, I did it back when you could do it. I certainly wasn't a Deion Sanders or anything like that, but I was able to do it, and it worked out fine. They didn't have a lot of money going into the baseball program at that time. So when Scotty Madison, who played football, and I played basketball, that was of great help to the baseball team because Coach Smitto and Coach Mewburn didn't have to use scholarship money for those.
So you think about it, Willie may be one of the last that was a two-sporter.
Well, they had Jamie Graham, who had I think he played basketball and football.
There haven't been many.
No, at most schools, there's really not.
So before we get to what went on today, when you all went Division II, and I've told a little bit of this, you reached out to the wisest man that you and I have ever known in C.M. Newton to help you to get to Division II. What things did he help you with to get you on that path?
Sure. The history about this was before I was here. Dr. Boone, our president, reached out to CM and said, hey, do an evaluation of our athletic department. The way that they were put together is the head coach at the time, Sam Harris, had an assistant, Mike Petroni, and Mike really was the one that made that introduction because Mike had been on the staff with us at Vanderbilt. Well, CM came over here, and in essence, what he did was he did a study of the athletic department, and he looked at Dr. Boone and he said, "You're a Division II school, and you don't even know it." So that prompted the potential look and little study of should we move from NAIA, which was much more solid at the time than it is now, but not that it's in trouble or anything. It just was not the best fit for us because we were functioning more as a Division II school. So he said, you need to try the Division II. Looked into it, and here we are.
So it was a great benefit to your school. It was also a great benefit to me because in the last years of Coach Newton's life, there had to have been 6 or 8 dinners between him and me and Petro that I will cherish forever because they were hilarious.
I don't know that I've ever – if I could just script 3 people who would antagonize each other more, it would be those 3, Mike Petroni, CM Newton, and George Plaster. They were the antithesis of each other.
They were so much fun. And
so George held his own.
Oh, he egged it on.
He started all of it.
Absolutely.
I
can see question.
That's not totally true.
Well,
Coach Newton stirred up a lot of it.
I think you tried to egg him on. Look. CM was up here, and I've got my hands up here. Right. He was way up here, and the rest of us were down here. So his information, what he gathered, what he knew,
he would just sort of toy around.
Oh, he just messed with us all the time.
He liked to screw with us.
Yes, no question.
His son, on the anniversary of his death a year or 2 ago, Martin sent me a text. Dad loves screwing with you more than any human being.
Well, listen, it didn't help. There was a couple of movements that CM had that were idiosyncrasies, right? You remember this one, right?
Oh,
he would do this.
The hands.
Yes. And so George would imitate him in front of him, right? And George is imitating CM in front of CM, and that just got him.
And he'd scratch his head.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And one of the best ones was he invited me when he was the basketball coach at Vandy to go to a civic club deal, and I turned him down. And I was kind of a smart aleck about it. I said, Coach, I've heard all your speeches, the 4 parts of the season, the this, the that. Well, he basically told that civic club that day, I'm going to Kentucky. And somebody called me and said, CM's going to Kentucky. And I called him and I said, did you tell them that? He said, I invited you. I gave you a chance. I'm not telling you anything.
Whoa. How about that?
And a week later, he was gone.
I can distinctly remember we're in Mississippi, and we were at the hotel, and he started asking us questions like, if you were to take another job, who would you choose? Who would be your coaching selection if you were to? And I think Petro particularly, we grabbed it. He's gone. He's leaving.
Yeah.
But what a perfect match. I hated to see him go, but what a perfect match for him to be at Kentucky.
You and I were so lucky because you just said it. He was up there. I mean, 5 years later, he was going to pick the United States Olympic Dream Team. We're down here, and it didn't matter to him. And that was, to me, that was the beauty of him is it didn't matter if you were the janitor or the king. It was always the same with him.
He had a way of how should I say this? He had a way of maintaining absolute dignity and class no matter where he was. In that Olympic Dream Team, you know what his title was? Manager. CM Newton, manager, right? And it wasn't like a baseball manager; it was manager like in the basketball sense, right? He was the guy that was carrying the bags around in many cases, right? But he was the ultimate gentleman. He was the ultimate resource for Bobby Knight in that Dream Team.
I've always said the finest person I've ever dealt with in athletics. So let's talk about this. How did this happen?
Well, as you said, we were talking off air a moment ago, and it's been a long process. When we first got into the NCAA, we probably didn't realize how important conference affiliation was, and that goes for all divisions: Division 3, 2, 1, Power 5, everything. As you're seeing, there's more reasons to be in a conference than just geography. There's more reasons to be in a conference than just money. It all matters. But we didn't have a conference affiliation when we got into Division 2. Therefore, we were searching. So there had not been a Division 2 expansion of conferences for 24 years prior to that. And we decided we were going to create our own. And so we went out and looked at some independents and looked at some people who are reclassifying. We said, there's a couple of schools out there that don't seem to be geographically centered in their conferences. Let's go ask them if they would like to come be a part of this. We got a quorum of about 4 people, and they were in Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee. We thought we could fill in the gaps. We did. It just so happened that the gaps were more up in Ohio than they were anywhere else.
Right.
And we started this great Midwest Athletic Conference. George, that has probably been, of all the things I've done professionally, maybe one of the things I'm most proud of is because to start a conference, behind the curtains, people don't understand what it takes to create a conference. And I think that's something that Dr. Boone and I are really proud of, that we created a conference that has real legitimacy to it now.
So compared to 15 years ago, let's say, isn't just simply the ability to say, by the way, we're located in Nashville, Tennessee, doesn't that carry a weight that maybe it didn't 15 years ago?
It probably does. Here's the funny thing about conference affiliation. The NCAA doesn't care. We've compared these two. The NCAA is like the city of Nashville. If you come into the NCAA, they don't care what neighborhood you live in. They don't care what church you attend. They don't care if you send your kids to public or private school. They want you to do 2 things. Don't break the law, pay your taxes. That's the NCAA's mantra. That's what Nashville wants you to do. They don't care where you go. The NCAA doesn't care what conference you're in, how many sports. They have some rules about how many sports you play, but they don't really care that much about it. So when it comes to conference affiliation, they are hands off. It's laissez-faire. They do not care where you abide. And consequently, they're also not going to help you create something else. Now, everybody wants to be in the hub of the wheel when it comes to geography in a conference. We don't happen to be in the hub of any wheel. We're on the outskirts of every conference in Division II. So none of them particularly fit us. Gulf South Conference fits us better. And we need that geography, and that's one of the main reasons why we left and coming to the Gulf South.
But there would appear to be, Mark, some benefits to them. I mean, the dream of being able to hold your postseason tournament in this city, if it could happen, would be huge stuff for this conference.
I think so. They are based in Birmingham, and Birmingham's a proud city as well, and they've got good facilities that bring the conference tournaments there, et cetera, whenever they can. It's still a budget game, George. In Division II, these are partial scholarship models. Schools are really trying to create sports teams that can enhance enrollment. It's not so much they're making money off of sports. And so what it boiled down to is that early on, we didn't have football. And that's why we didn't get into the Gulf South there initially. We're still not planning on having football. But as teams left Division I and they lost some football playing schools, they then realized in order to have automatic qualifiers and also the sports sponsorships and grant money, et cetera, they need to start paying attention to some other programs, particularly female, women's programs,
right?
Lacrosse, tennis, golf, track, some of those that we have, and we could benefit them for that. But Nashville, yes, certainly in the geographical climate that we were all in. And so I think that certainly didn't hurt us. And we want to take advantage of being in Nashville, recruiting to Nashville. And we let them know whenever we had them on campus, we put them we put them as high as we could with glass windows looking over the city landscape or the skyline of Nashville every time.
So I don't think it's any secret you all would like a new basketball facility. Does this jumpstart that?
I think so. It does. We've got 4 projects that Dr. Boone and I are really key on. Number 1 was this conference affiliation, moving to the Gulf South. Check 1. Number 2, a new weight room that we've looked at for years. Finally, with 3,500 square foot new weight room, we've just gotten the floor put in, and in a couple of weeks we'll get all the equipment. So we'll have a new weight room, athlete-only weight room. It's a big thing for us. It's almost $200,000 worth of equipment. So that's a big deal for us. So number 2, checked off when that happens. Number 3, we need to get our track enhanced. There's no place on this campus where we can do a track. We're going to have to go off campus. So we're looking to have a partnership with the STEM Academy over in Foster Avenue, the old TPS property.
Yeah.
A turf field over there. If we could turf that, we would do the enhancements and we would share it with them, similar to a Rose Park and Belmont kind of arrangement. Check, that would be number 3. And then the 4th would be the arena. We've got a small arena that has done well, but we now have 8 athletic teams competing for one gym floor on this campus. They're allowed to go 3 hours a day. So 8 times 3 is 24. We could literally have the gym open and being used 24 hours a day.
At 3 a.m.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you just add another floor, that splits it in half, right? So you could go 4-4 technically.
And the one that we've designed has got 3 additional floors. So we would triple our space, quadruple our space.
If somebody walked in with $1 jillion, what do you want this facility to be?
Well, we don't have $1 jillion. I can.
Right.
I have seen a lot of gyms, and I've traveled around, and I've looked at gyms, and I've designed them in my head, and I've designed them on paper, and I've designed them with architects, and I can spend a lot of money. And we've had at this university, we've probably had 5-6 different plans at different spots. We had to finally nail down with the cabinet, where can we build this? Because you don't tear a building down after you build it for $30-some million. You don't tear it down. It's very similar to when we decided to put lights on our baseball field. That was kind of a watershed, but we put lights on our baseball field. I looked at the baseball coach and said, is this the way you want the field configured? Because if you want home plate out in the left field corner, we're not changing it. So it's a big, big deal where you put this thing. And so for the next 60 years, we had to decide, and the campus had to decide, the campus planning had to decide, where are we going to put this? And where can we afford to put it that we have current parking or whatever? How are we going to do this? And so finally, when they decided this is where you can put it, that's when we took off. And that's when we got the architects to design we designed what we wanted. They're just filling in the gaps and creating the overall effects. And so now we're at that fundraising phase where we'll announce this fundraising at our homecoming the first week of November. And our desire is to raise money quickly and put a shovel in the ground
quickly
next summer.
Do you have a capacity in mind?
We want it to be flexible. All right. So the way we've designed this is we're going to have about 1,500 seats in our competition gym that is expandable. And then we have a movable wall that we could open it up to create even additional space. We don't have one place now where we could have graduation. This would allow us to have graduation. So we're making it flexible, making it expandable, if you will, so that we can have multiple type. It's going to be a general uses kind of place, but we're concentrating on making it a competition gym. Everybody, George, has an icon facility that says this is the home of athletics. And right now ours is lacking.
So Billy, when you hear the names Mike Rhodes, Mark Elliott, Tim Thompson, Brian Alsmiller, this is our era of Vanderbilt basketball, and it was a lot of fun.
Tommy Springer,
good
Charles
Lord.
Davis.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't leave them out on purpose.
Coach Dobbs, Coach Bargatze, Coach Skinner,
And Dale Clayton was here today. Right. And, man, that led to a bunch of stories.
Well, and the mystique of that gym in itself is something special. And Ron Bargatze has talked to me about some of the changes that they've undergone with, moving certain types of fans away from, right below the basket. He said that made a huge impact on the atmosphere. But man, looking back at some of the pictures and some of the footage of what that looked and sounded like, I'm not saying they're not ever going to get back to that, or they haven't, but I mean, I wasn't even a thought, when it was really, really bumping.
When it was rocking, that place was the loudest gym I've ever been in my life. It is still to this day my favorite gym. Not a lot of people from outside like it necessarily coming into it, but the goals were people don't talk about the goals. Remember the old goals that they used to
raise them up
to the ceiling and bring them back down, and the standards were like 30 feet wide, and it was just
different.
Very different. And it was the thing to do back then. It was before the Titans, before the Predators, and it was the thing to do.
It was the sporting thing in Nashville. That and the Sounds.
Yeah.
And they had it was a sellout at 16,000, sold out on season ticket basis. You could get them from the people who bought them, but there was not a ticket to be sold at that point. So it really was the thing to do. And I came in through a time where just the F Troop had just left. Ron Bargatze recruited me to Vanderbilt, and then after my freshman year, he left to come over here to Trevecca, and that was my introduction to Trevecca.
And I was the PA announcer for his first game, and you and Tim came over that night.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Mark Elliot, the athletic director at Trevecca, has been our guest. Thank you for taking the time to come over here. We'll go to the break. We'll wrap this baby up when we come back.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
Convenience and value, 2 words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
So who said I can't be a golfer? Well, you know what? This is X Golf, located just down the road from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. This is fun. It'll improve your golf game, and you need to stop in and check it out. 8138 Sawyer Brown Road, and who knows, I may get to 200 before it's all over. Here's my buddy Sam Moran to tell you about a basketball event that's coming just around the corner that you need to attend.
Thank you, George. Stars Basketball Club will be having our nightly fundraising dinner on Tuesday, October 3rd at Brentwood Baptist Church. That's at 7777 Concord Road in Brentwood, Tennessee. We look forward to hosting Coach Jimmy Dykes with ESPN and SEC Network basketball college analysts, as well as Miss Betty Wiseman from Belmont University with other college coaches in attendance. You can go and find out more at starsbasketballclub.com. And we look forward to seeing you Tuesday, October 3rd at 5:30 in Brentwood, Tennessee.
Order your tickets. I'll be there, and I hope you will be as well.
Final segment on a Tuesday, closing it out here from Trevecca on a beautiful day. Big thanks to Mark Elliot, Greg Ruff, everybody that made this possible.
Gruff Dog.
Greg even made an appearance today. I think we could have expected that. So awesome day here at Trevecca. We're going to close it out with Plaster's Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Let's check out the results. First here, George, and Mark gets to laugh at some of these, but he can't really laugh too much. You got to win this week.
No, because these are against the spread. This is not just...
Well, you took one off the board last night.
I did take one off the board, and I'm going to explain where I was going with it. First of all, the Eagles dominated against Tampa. They ran
them off the field.
Once they scored right before halftime, it was over.
Yeah.
Even though it was only, I think, 10-3 at the time. The Joe Burrow thing is a weird story because after watching it last night, Joe Burrow doesn't need to be playing right now. And I don't know why Cincinnati is risking serious stuff, whether it's calf, is this Achilles? People are speculating. Bless his heart, he couldn't move a lick last night, and he still was good enough to get them a win over a really good team.
Yeah, something I thought about. Do they rest him this week on a short week against the Titans?
I don't know, because
maybe they wanted to get a win under their belt. With him at 60%, rest him for the Titans potentially on a short week. I thought of that. Maybe they're just rolling with him. I don't know.
Aaron Donald is as good a down lineman in a front four as the NFL has.
Yeah.
And my worry as I watched that last night was that Aaron Donald was going to put Joe Burrow out for the year. And it's a miracle it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But it's led to a lot of people, me included, questioning why the Bengals are going down this road. Yes, it was a game they needed to win, but Joe Burrow's health is long-term more important to that franchise than what they end up doing this year.
It is. I think they trust him. He's smart. He's smart enough to know what he's capable of. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that defense, I don't know if I would have thrown him out there if I was the coach.
So tonight I'm going with no football out there. I'm going the Rangers. The Rangers were written off for dead 10 days ago, and then a funny thing happened on the way to their funeral. Kansas City swept Houston over the weekend at Houston. Nobody saw that coming. Seattle has kind of fallen apart. At the same time, Texas has gotten hot, and I'm rooting for my buddy Chuck Morgan to be in the playoffs. This would be a real achievement. Nashvillian and future Hall of Fame manager Bruce Bochy has got them right on the edge of getting in as the division winner and a 3 seed. You're darn right they're going to beat the Angels tonight.
They need it too. They got to have it against an Angels team that probably doesn't really care anymore.
Yeah. Tomorrow, Billy, interesting stuff. I saw this on the show, and I'm going to pull out my little tablet here on this. Mike Walsh is an associate athletic director at Boise State University. He's going to join us at 2:20 tomorrow. He wrote a lengthy deal that he was asked to do by a bunch of group of 5 people to basically say, here's what our future needs to be. It'll be very interesting to see what he says to us. I saw this in, on an ESPN article last weekend. Called him. He said, absolutely willing to do it. Danny Evans will join us at 3:00. We'll talk a little bit more about what this Tampa Bay Stadium does for Nashville, Tennessee, because it seems to speed up the entire process. Summer school wasn't all bad, was it? Oh, that's right. You never knew. Anyway, for Billy Derrick and for Kelly Holcomb, who will be back with us tomorrow, first of all, we wish his daughter the best. She has suffered a fairly significant sports injury, and thinking about her and Kelly's family. Hopefully he'll be back tomorrow. We'll be at X Golf out in Bellevue. We've been there before. It's helped my golf game just a tad. I need more practice. Maybe I'll get it tomorrow. See you then.